Hello YouTube, welcome to another edition of Rob's Arcade. As usual, I'm your host Rob, and this episode is devoted entirely to the Teen Titans. For those of you who are unaware of their roots, the Teen Titans were originally the sidekicks of popular DC Comics superheroes who formed their own super team. This lineup has changed numerous times over the years, but 40 years later we're still following the most popular iteration of the team. This group consists of Robin the Boy Wonder, who eventually ditches Batman and becomes the costume hero known as Nightwing. The shape-shifting Beast Boy, also known as Changeling in the comics. Half man, half machine Victor Stone, aka Cyborg. The beautiful alien from Tamaran, Starfire. And the mysterious empath Raven. An animated series based on this lineup of the Teen Titans began airing on Cartoon Network in 2003 and successfully blended the action, adventure, and drama from the comics with a sense of humor. The show ran for 5 seasons and in 2013 was rebooted as Teen Titans Go, featuring the same voice cast and similar character models, but ditching almost all of the drama and a lot of the action and doubling down on the humor. Now, my favorite version of the Teen Titans is the classic comic book version. So on this episode, we're going to be drawing
Azarath Metrion Zenthos!
Whoa! As I was saying, my favorite version of the Teen Titans is the version from Teen Titans Go. So on this episode, we're going to be drawing this.
Hadouken!
Titans go!
That's right, Player 2s. On this episode, we're going to be drawing Robin from Teen Titans Go. And after that, we're going to take a trip down to the Classic Game Showcase, and we're going to spend some time playing a Teen Titans video game. It's going to be awesome. So let's not waste any more time. Let's check our supplies, and let's get started drawing. Okay, Player 2s, let's get started drawing Robin from Teen Titans Go. We're going to use the same 3-step process we always use. Step 1 is the guideline step. I'll be drawing in red. When I draw in red, I want you to press very lightly with your pencils. I can't stress that enough, very lightly, because we're going to go in and we're going to erase all these pencil lines at a later step. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle. Now we have to make sure that we leave some space at the top for his hair and the bottom for the rest of his body, because this circle is for his head. Now Robin is 2.5 heads tall, which pretty much means that this is going to be the size of the body. So we're going to do 1 head, 2 heads, and then a half a head. So the body should be about this big down to about here. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to draw a guideline. And we're going to curve guideline right through here. Again, since Robin's head is turned, this is a 3/4 view, so we're just adding this guideline so we can make everything even on both sides. The next step we're going to do, Robin's head has a little bit of a point at the bottom of his chin. So all we're going to do is just draw one small little line here and one small little line here that connects right there to make his chin a little pointed, to change the shape of this oval just to this shape. Next step, we're going to add a little rectangle here for his neck, a larger rectangle for his body, a smaller rectangle. This line right here would be where we would place his belt. About that size right there. 2 rectangles for his thigh area. And then we're going to draw a straight line down here. Let me erase this line. This was just to show how big 2.5 heads tall is. So we're going to do a straight line here, a diagonal line here, diagonal line here. We're going to close it off at the bottom, like so, and we're going to try to make both of these shapes the same size. So we should have something right now: head, neck, chest and torso, legs. The next step after this, we're going to draw one larger rectangle down at the bottom, like this, and then we're going to close it off with another one right there. Head, neck, body, legs, feet. Next step, we're going to draw a triangle here and a slightly smaller triangle here because his body is turned. Again, it might be easier too if you just did a small guideline right down the middle right there to help place everything, because we're going to have to draw his Robin logo and all that stuff over there. We're going to draw another rectangle down to about here where his waist meets, and we're going to draw a circle. Now the circle has to be pretty small because Robin has very, very tiny hands. They make fun of him all the time on the show for having his little tiny baby hands. So we're going to draw a smaller circle there to draw Robin's little baby hands. We're going to do the same thing over here, but since his arm is closer to the body, we're going to draw the rectangle like this and the little circle at the bottom right there. Head, neck, body, arms, legs, and feet. The next step, we're going to draw about here a little tiny triangle. This might be a little difficult to see. A little tiny triangle. That's for his nose. And then, starting at our guideline, we're going to draw a line and a curve. This will be for half of his mask. We're going to have to leave some space from the bottom of his mask to his chin, because in between both sides of his mask, that's where his mouth would be. So I'm going to just erase this little guideline that we have here just to signify where the stuff is, just so it's easier for all my player 2s to see. Then I'm going to draw on the other side the other half of his mask. Then we're going to draw his mouth. We're going to add a little smile right here. So that's in between both halves of his mask. Eventually we're going to go in, we're going to thicken this line. Right here we're going to draw a little oval on the side for his ear. And now the hardest part of this image, and even then it's not even that difficult. We're going to draw Robin's hair. And again, since we break everything down into shapes, we're going to draw a little line across here. Alright, we're going to leave a little bit of space. And we're going to draw two curves. One on this side of the guideline and one on this side of the guideline. We're going to start right here at the end where our guideline meets the original head shape that we did. And we're going to go and we're going to bring a giant curve over here and bring it down like that. We're going to do the same thing over here, slightly smaller, another one. So it's kind of like curved triangles. And then we're going to do one more over here, and we're going to bring it back down around the ear. On the other side, we're going to go up and around. So we're going to have a shape that looks very similar to this. Now when we go in this next step and we start adding more detail, we're going to go in and we're going to clean this up a little bit. So we're going to draw a sideburn, which is pretty much starting right here where we did this line. We're going to do a little curve. We're going to bring it up. And we're going to bring it around like that. So as of right now, my player 2 should have something that looks very similar to this. If it doesn't look exactly like this, that's okay. This is kind of a harder one to do. But my player 2s have shown such progress and have done such a good job with some of the other topics that we've done. I know that you all have this under control. I'm very impressed with everything I've seen from all of you. So now we're going to move on to step 2. I'm going to draw in blue. When I draw in blue, I want you to press a little bit harder with your pencils, but not too hard, because we're going to eventually have to go in and we're going to erase all of these lines. Just hard enough to be able to tell the difference between the lines in step 2 and step 1. So the first thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to start with his nose, and then I'm going to do his mask. But with his mask, I'm going to make this line thicker. So this way we have more of a border around it. This mask is called a domino mask. So with the domino mask, we just have to make this so this outline is black, a thicker black, and then the inside it is white. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to bring this around here. So there we have his mask. I'm going to do his mouth. And then I'm going to go around his head. I'm going to make this just a little bit larger. And I'm going to follow my guideline here and just go a little bit outside of it, just to make it a little bigger. Then I'm going to do the outline for his hair, or his ear, I'm sorry, and then his hair. So right there. And since we did the guideline step, this is just one giant mess of combined shapes that turn into one shape. So all we're doing is just following this as one shape. We have a little line here, we have a curve here, our curve here. We're going to go down around the outside here, around the hair at the top. So right now we have Robin's head. Eyes, nose, mouth, hair. We're going to start adding more details to the body. We have his neck. Robin has a cape. Starting right here at this guideline that we drew, we're going to draw a triangle. Part of Robin's cape covers part of his uniform. We have our guideline here for his body and waist. What we're going to do is we're going to taper this in just slightly. Just make this outline a little diagonal. And then follow that around. We're going to draw a circle right where this guideline is for his belt. And then two rectangles, one larger one and one smaller one. And since this rectangle, because he's turned, is going to be a little bit larger, we're going to draw a little line right through there for his utility belt. We're going to make this area, the bottom of his torso area, one solid shape connected to his leg. So we're going to draw a line here, and we're going to bring these lines down to here, because when we eventually erase this, I'm just doing this so you can all see, these guidelines right here will be gone, leaving this as one solid shape. Underneath, and it might be easier to just draw through because this area is going to be solid black, underneath the top of his cape, we're going to draw two rectangles, and right here on his chest, we're going to draw a circle, and we're going to draw the letter R in there. So far so good, huh, player twos? So right now we've got his head, good chunk of his body done. We have to finish the feet, arms, hands. We're going to draw a cape in there, and then we'll be done with step 2. So we're going to continue with the arms. Now, since we drew a guideline here for the shoulder, we're going to trace over part of our triangle, but we're just going to curve it in there. Again, step 2, we're adding more details. We're taking the original guidelines that we did and using those as a base. It's kind of like building something with Legos, where you start at the bottom and you work your way up. You start adding more pieces along the way. So here we're going to do the other arm. Starting right about here, we're going to draw a little triangle. And that'll flare out for his little gauntlet sleeves. Trace over his skinny arms. We're going to do the same thing evenly on this side. A little triangle. And now we're going to draw his hands. Since he's got little tiny hands, we're going to draw a thumb. And then 1, 2, 3 fingers. So he's got a thumb and 3 fingers. Same thing on this one. Because of the fact that his body is turned, you're not going to see the whole hand. So we're just going to draw a curve right here. We're going to follow our circle and draw 1, 2, 3 fingers, and his thumb is behind his body. We're going to go over the boots. Just right over the original guidelines that we did here. This one looks a little bit larger, so I'm just going to shrink it down just a little bit. And that's the good thing about drawing in pencils, is that along the way, if you start seeing things that don't look right, you can fix them very, very easily. And then the next step, we're going to draw just kind of a few diagonal lines behind him for his cape. And now we have just finished step 2. So we all should have an image that looks like this or very similar to this. If it doesn't look exactly like this, that's okay. And the best thing about this being on YouTube is that if you missed a step, if I went too fast, you can pause it, you can go back, you can catch your mistake. What we're going to do now is we're going to ink over all of the lines that we did in step 2. We're not going to ink over any of the guidelines. So the lines like this right here, we're not going to worry about those. Only the lines in step 2, because these guidelines from step 1 are just kind of a basis for where we should start building our image. So I'm going to start in the beginning. We're going to take our black felt tip pen or black magic marker and just start inking over all of our finished drawing. So going over his eyes, his mouth, his eyes, his hair. I'm going to kind of color this in a little bit as I go along, just so I can show my player 2s what this would look like when it's finished. So we'll go over his ear and his chin first. Again, he's got the pointy chin at the bottom. And then I'm going over the hair. If you feel like the hair was too big, if you feel like the hair was too short, take a look at it before you start inking it, and then you can fix it along the way. So just shading that in just to give my player 2s a little idea of what this would look like. Very, very roughly. So there we have Robin's head. His neck and part of his cape, I'm going to shade that in too, very roughly. And now I'm going to start tracing over the arms and the rest of the body. Shoulders. Over the Robin circle, a little circle with the letter R in it. Parts of his costume, the circle for his belt, 2 rectangles for his belt, his back, again we just tapered that in a little bit, an arm, his thumb, 1, 2, 3 fingers, cape, legs, close it off right there. Other arm. Now I'm going kind of fast, but pretty much all we're doing right now is we're tracing over our drawing that we did. We pretty much did the majority of the drawing in step 2. So we're just pretty much cleaning it up along the way. His boots. And I'm going to shade in the boots just so you have an idea of what that looks like as well. Other boot. And there we go. Take a look at the image, make sure that you've traced over all of the spots that you needed to trace over. Like right here, I just missed a spot. So if I would have gone and erased that, the cape wouldn't have been complete. But the good thing is that I can just go in there, add a pencil line, make sure that I have everything where it's supposed to be, go in there and close it off, and then we have just drawn Robin. So all my player 2s, I want you to wait a few minutes for the ink to dry, then take your erasers and erase all of the pencil lines. Doing this will only leave the black lines that you did in the final step, so you'll have a nice inked image of Robin. And there you have it, player 2s. We just drew Robin the Boy Wonder from Teen Titans Go.
Azarath Metro.
Okay, wait, stop, hold on. How about this? As a special bonus for my Patreon subscribers, how about we do a bonus class where I teach all of my player 2s how to draw Raven? Is that good? Because I really don't want any more magic done to me. Whew. Okay, player 2s. Patreon.com/RobsArcade will have a bonus episode where I teach all of my player 2s how to draw Raven. Great job. On this edition of the Classic Game Showcase, we're going to switch on the Game Boy Advance and play a little Teen Titans. Based on the 2003 animated series of the same name, Teen Titans is a 2D action platformer with a ton of potential that unfortunately kind of misses the mark. The plot of this game is simple. Brother Blood and his robot army are tired of being defeated by the Titans, so he decides to make clones of them to do his bidding. Our heroes must hunt down Brother Blood's minions Gizmo, Jinx, and Mammoth to retrieve the Teen Titans' stolen DNA. A major thing this game has going in its favor is that players can switch between all 5 Titans at any time. Each Titan has different abilities, and at times a player has to use a specific Titan to overcome an obstacle, like hacking a computer with Robin, or transforming into a bird with Beast Boy to fly through an air duct. These mechanics add a bit of variety to mostly monotonous and extremely glitchy gameplay. Aside from a few boss battles and encounters with the clones of the Titans, players battle the same hive robots over and over. Major errors can be found in the collision detection, and on occasion players can get stuck behind an invisible wall, which is frustrating since so much of this game deals with platforming and fighting at the same time. On a positive note, the graphics and attention to detail in regards to the characters themselves is the high point, and they do a great job representing the series on a handheld game system. While the dynamic of using all 5 characters is a great concept, unfortunately it was executed poorly. Teen Titans for the Game Boy Advance is a step better than some other licensed games based on successful properties, but I can only recommend this game to die-hard fans of the show. Till next time. That's a wrap on another edition of Rob's Arcade. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to help this channel grow. Also be sure to follow Rob's Arcade at the social media links listed in the description below. Now as far as the next episode goes, we're going to do another Rob's Arcade reset video. where we go back to an old episode and make it a whole lot better. The topic of this can only be described in one word: Cowabunga. Thanks for tuning in to Rob's Arcade, and I'll see you next time.